Hi, welcome to Dave Lee on Investing. We have another live show for you guys. Today we have a blockbuster news event that just happened this morning. Elon tweeted that Tesla is going to be moving their California headquarters out of California and they're going to be moving it to Texas and Nevada. Also, Elon is saying the future production in Fremont is going to be dependent on how they're treated. Now, this is like huge news, and so we've got a lot to talk about in today's episode. After I kind of share some slides, I'm going to be taking viewer questions, so get prepared, and we're going to have a great discussion on what's going on in today's events. All right, so today we're going to be talking about, more specifically, is Tesla really moving out of California, right? And what does that mean? And how to process this information. So this is really a major event. I mean, here we have people commenting, yeah, this ain't no joke. This is huge. Yeah, so if you can go ahead and if you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear this live stream, that'll help me. Okay, cool. So, yeah, what's going on here? I first want to help you guys, and the point of this channel really is to help us think rationally, to help us think from different angles, to think more deeply, not just from a shallow emotional reactionary level, but to actually go beyond the surface, right, and get to the substance and essence of things, and that will help us to make better decisions investment-wise and other decisions as well. So with a type of news like this, the typical reaction is going to be very reactionary, very emotional. And if you have kind of different angles and ways to process this, it's going to be to your advantage in many different ways. So let's look into this. All right, so background information. Thursday night, Elon was very excited. California Governor Newsom reported that, hey, California is entering stage 2 and they're opening up manufacturing. And Elon was like, yay, on Twitter. And on Thursday night, Elon, right, in his excitement, he tweeted, or he actually emailed his employees, and he said, hey, in light of Governor Newsom's statement, we're going to restart production on Friday afternoon. And he's going to be there, Elon, on the production line. And he's saying, if you're not comfortable coming in, that's fine, right? You don't have to come in. And then Friday afternoon, everything gets shut down. Alameda County issues a statement. It says Tesla must not reopen, right? They're very clear to Tesla. And they're saying restoring all daily activities too soon risks a rapid spike in cases and would jeopardize the relative stability we've seen in our health and hospital system. So Alameda County is the county that Fremont Factory is located in. It's in Northern California. And the 6 or 7 counties around there in the Bay Area are really playing hardball. They're doing an extreme lockdown, and they've extended that lockdown. All right. Some more background. Alameda County shelter-in-place order goes in effect, right? They issued it on March 16th. And initially, the order goes until May 4th. On May 16th, if you have time, go back, watch my Tesla factory shutdown rant. And I basically lay out the risks with Alameda County that, hey, these guys are doing an extreme action here by shutting down everything. And having a background in Northern California, like going to school up there, college, etc., I understand some of the mindset of some of the people, and there's risk, right, that this type of shelter in order can get extended, and it got extended past May 4th, right? I think all the way to early June. However, at the same time, California, even though they have actually very stringent shelter-in-place orders as well, they're not as stringent as the Northern California counties. And so California decides to enter stage 2, right, at the end of this past week, allowing manufacturing to go into effect. Now, there's a tricky thing in play here where local kind of health issues typically have precedent with the local authorities. So the local health authorities, they typically have more authority, right, over local health issues than the state. So Governor Newsom is deferring to Alameda County and the local counties in terms of their shelter-in-place orders. This morning, Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweets on Twitter, and he says, Tesla is filing a lawsuit against Alameda County immediately. And he says the unelected and ignorant interim health officer, right? I think that's Erica Pan or something. She's an interim health officer that's setting a lot of these policies, is acting contrary to the governor, the president, consistent and our constitutional freedoms and just plain common sense, right? And if you look back at some of this background, Tesla has actually complied, I think, very, very reasonably to shut down their factory for over 6 weeks, right? And now Tesla is going to be approaching a 2-month shutdown with no end in sight, right? And Alameda County is not even giving Tesla like a date that they can open. They're saying, let's plan on talking about when the possibility to open the factory will be. And we're talking about, it could be June or so. And being in Alameda County and being in Northern California, what if there's another flare-up, right? It could be in the summer, it could be in fall or winter, right? There's actually a decent likelihood or chance that there's another flare-up, right? And Alameda County shuts down Fremont Factory again in the wintertime. So this is actually an ongoing risk right now, being in the Northern California Bay Area that Elon and Tesla is going through. All right, and then Elon drops the bombshell, right? And he says Tesla will move their headquarters to Texas and Nevada. Right? And this is huge. Elon is not saying just that they are planning to move or they are thinking about moving. He's not really threatening to move. He's actually saying they're moving, right? They're out of California. This is huge. I think a lot of people don't completely grasp the implications of Elon's tweet right here. And it's also a double tweet because he talks about Fremont as well. And in Fremont, regarding Fremont Factory, he is giving a threat. He is giving, in a way, open-ended type of possibility. So there are two things going on here. So let's look at the first thing here. It says, frankly, this is the final straw. And then he says, Tesla will now move its headquarters and future programs to Texas and Nevada immediately, right? So this is the key thing here, is Elon is not saying it's planned or we're thinking about it. He's saying, hey, this is done. We're out of here. We're out of California regarding our headquarters. And then he's saying now with Fremont, he says, even if we retain Fremont manufacturing activity at all, it will be dependent on how Tesla is treated in the future. Tesla is the last car maker left in California. All right, so now with the Fremont factory, Elon is saying, hey, we're not sure what we're going to do. We could continue to, our production, or we could reduce production. Who knows? We could even close it down. It all depends on how Tesla is treated in the future, right? So there are two issues going on. So what does headquarters mean? Is that different than the Fremont factory? And let's look into that a little bit differently, or a little bit more here. All right. Currently, Tesla has their official legal headquarters in Palo Alto, California. Now, I've been there actually personally. I think during Autonomy Day last year, they had their Autonomy Day event there. And their Palo Alto headquarters is where kind of their main engineering kind of office is. This is where they have the main engineers. They have their, kind of the hardcore team programmers. This is where a lot of the action happens, right, in Tesla in terms of software and manufacturing or design, etc. Now, Tesla also has a few other places where they have engineering and design, etc. For example, in Hawthorne, next to SpaceX, they have a design studio, right? And that is more focused on design, like on the aesthetics, right? On the shape of the vehicles, on the interior design, etc. But the hardcore engineering mostly is taking place in Palo Alto, California. Now, there's also, right, some engineering taking place at the Fremont factory as well. Right? And there's teams that are out there doing some engineering. But from my knowledge, the vast majority of the hardcore, most important engineering is still happening in Palo Alto. So with Palo Alto being their headquarters, what Elon is saying is that Texas and Nevada is interesting that Elon didn't say Texas and or Nevada. It seems like there might be a split or something, right? Or maybe they haven't decided yet which one they're going to go to exactly. But in my opinion, we're going to see Palo Alto become a satellite office for Tesla. And then you're going to see in Texas or Nevada, you're going to see a new kind of headquarters office for Tesla. Now, this makes sense on a few different levels. First, Palo Alto headquarters actually is kind of bursting at the seams already, right? They have all these parking issues. It's not a huge building. It's like a typical office building in the suburbs, office park of Palo Alto. And they just don't have a lot of expansion possibilities there. And so I think what's going to happen, in my opinion, is they're going to keep their Palo Alto offices. It's not like they're going to close them down. And they need, I think, a Silicon Valley presence, right? You have some of the best AI talent in Silicon Valley. You still have some of the best engineers. So it's wise for Tesla to keep a satellite office there, especially for those employees who can't or don't want to move to Texas, right, or Nevada. However, Tesla is going to be opening up a new office, I believe, in Texas, maybe Nevada, but I think it could happen like this. First, Tesla opens up a Nevada kind of headquarters, right? They claim they're moving their headquarters to Nevada, right? Maybe at the Gigafactory, and then maybe after 6 to 12 months, they're going to move their headquarters to Texas. And I think my suspicion is going to be Austin, Texas, maybe after 12 months or so. It could be anywhere between 6 to 18 months after, let's say, they declare headquarters in their Reno facility. That's my opinion. Okay, a lot of this is speculation. And the speculation, it could be wrong, right? But I think we need to go through some of these possibilities. All right, so why Texas? Okay, first, I think Texas is likely the home to a new Gigafactory, right? There was a tweet by Elon saying, hey, do you guys want a Texas Gigafactory? In his tweet location, it said Austin. So it's possible that Elon is scoping an Austin, Texas Gigafactory. Second, Texas is home to a huge workforce, right? You have San Antonio and Houston, huge cities like nearby Austin. And Austin itself is a tech hub, right? Tesla is not going to be running out of talent or people. And lastly, Texas has lower taxes and less regulation than California. And this allows Tesla to move faster, right, to hire faster and to do more things. All right, next we go to Fremont Factory. Now, this is the second thing that Elon mentioned in his tweet. And he now says Fremont Factory is in flux, right? We don't know what's going to happen with Fremont Factory. And I think Elon was clear with that. He's saying it depends on how they're going to treat us. So there are three possibilities, in my opinion, of what happens to Fremont Factory. First, they could keep Fremont as is, right? And just continue to build more production capacity in Texas or in Nevada. Number two is they could lower production, actually. Rather than their 500 or so, it could be up to 600,000, maybe even 700,000 they're planning in Fremont. They could lower the production, let's say, to half, maybe to 300 to 400,000 production, move out equipment, move out people, right, and expand in other locations. And lastly, they could close Fremont production completely, right? They could shutter the plant. Who knows? They could put the whole plant up for sale, right? That's always an option. All right, let's look at these three scenarios more specifically, 1, 2, and 3, and what the likelihood and practicalities of all this is. All right, practicalities. One, I think the first scenario is to keep Fremont as is the best practical solution at this point, because it requires the least amount, right, of moving equipment, moving people, all this change, and you can decide to grow elsewhere, like Texas or Nevada or other gigafactories, other countries as well. That's the most preferable, in my opinion. Second, I think it's okay if Tesla wants to reduce, let's say, their Fremont footprint, let's say to 50% of production, right? Move out some equipment and people, and to move production elsewhere, right? It's still a complicated venture, but it's not as drastic as, let's say, shutting everything down. The last option, I think, is the worst and the most complicated case, and that's to completely shut down Fremont Factory and, let's say, move production ASAP, let's say, out to Nevada. So there's a lot of questions like, how can you move vehicle production, right, out to Nevada? How long will it take? How long will it cost? Let's look into this in a bit more. All right, for the first two scenarios of leaving Fremont as is or reducing it, this basically allows Tesla, in this case, I think what will happen is these scenarios are preferable as long as Fremont compromises, meaning Fremont allows Tesla to at least start production, meaning maybe not Fremont actually, we'll say this is Alameda. Alameda County is the people in charge right now. They allow, hypothetically, Tesla to start production, 30 to 50% production, let's say, within a week. And then they allow a slow and gradual ramp. And in that case, I think Tesla will keep Fremont production as is, but still they keep on, their expansion plans in Texas and perhaps Nevada. So in my opinion, that's the best case, right? And Elon mentioned in several tweets that he wants people to put pressure on Alameda County, right? Because I think he knows the best outcome is for the Alameda County, right, health officials to compromise and to allow Tesla to start production, at least on a limited basis, ramping up. Now, the worst scenario, and I think Elon is prepared for this, and he wouldn't tweet this unless he was really serious. If Fremont remains stringent, remains adamant that Tesla cannot open up their Fremont factory, right, for the entire month of May, etc., Tesla is filing a lawsuit immediately. That's what Elon says. And then Tesla could actually start moving production equipment to Nevada. And the long-term goal, it could be, hey, let's reduce Fremont capacity by 50%, move the rest to Nevada, etc. In this case, what does that mean? So in Nevada, they're going to have to create some space, meaning they're going to have to move some stuff out of some buildings. They're going to probably have to create some permanent tent structures. They're going to have to work with the authorities to get like a lot of building permits done very quickly. And Nevada has been, very good at that stuff, right? And so Tesla, I think, feels confident they can do this, number one. Now, there are 4 main processes to make a car. If you haven't done a Fremont tour, I highly encourage you to do a Fremont tour. I've done several over the years, and each tour has been helpful. Some have been better than others, but nevertheless, the first kind of stage of the car manufacturing process is the stamping process. This is where they take, raw metals, aluminum sheets, steel, etc., and they stamp them. They stamp basically all the major parts, right? The hood, they stamp the doors, they stamp, all the stuff, and with huge stamping presses. The second major part of the build process is the body in white, right? And what the body in white means is the process of welding all of the pieces together, right? It's like making the frame of the car. This is without any paint, without any like other stuff in the car. After the car is welded together in a body, in one kind of frame, then it's sent to the paint shop. And in the paint shop, they do several layers of paint, right? And after the paint shop, it's sent to general assembly. And on the general assembly line, that's when you have people coming together, assembling like the doors, the dash, the seats and all this stuff, right? Now, this is the major components. But however, there's a lot more stuff that's going on here behind the scenes. For example, like you have seat production, right? You have dash production, you have battery production, right? You have powertrain motor production, right? You have lots of different pieces that are moving around, right, in different places. So Tesla has a lot of different suppliers, and they have a lot of different, different assembly lines for different things going on. But these are the 4 main processes. So Tesla basically has to replicate these 4 processes in Nevada if they're wanting to move production. And I think it's possible, right? They can move the stamping presses. It's not too far. The body in white is all the robots. So the stamping and the body in white and the paint shop don't require a lot of people. It's the general assembly, right, that requires the most people. But this can be done mostly in the permanent tent structures. So I would say, in my opinion, this is my kind of my guess, is I would think it would take 3 to 6 months actually for Tesla to move production over from Fremont to Reno. I'm not sure how much percent they would be within the 3 to 6 months, but yeah, I think Elon on Elon time, he could maybe even break this 3-month period, right? Possible it could be done in 2 months if he gets think about it, thousands of people just helping and hundreds and hundreds of trucks, right, moving stuff, right, getting this stuff out to Reno, and it's possible, right? All this stuff is up in the air, and Elon right now is signaling that he's open to actually moving the entire plant. All right, some other kind of notes on what's going on right now. There's probably human resource HR chaos in Tesla. Imagine the thousands of Tesla workers, and I'm sure there's probably some Tesla workers, right, that are watching right now, or who will watch this live stream, trying to figure out what's going on with Tesla. Do I have a job, right? What's the future of Tesla? Am I going to be required to relocate or not? And they have very similar questions to us because all of this stuff is just breaking, right? We are finding out the same time as Tesla workers around the world. Next is there's an Alameda County crisis, right, going on right at this moment. You have the mayor, the city council, health officials. They're probably meeting, right, today and tomorrow over the phone, probably Zoom calls, because obviously they don't want to get together physically. And they're going to be making some decisions. And the key issue is, A, are we going to be kind of more Is Alameda County going to be stuck in kind of like this fundamentalism, right? Saying that, hey, we need to just completely be ultra cautious with this coronavirus, right? And have a complete lockdown. Or are they going to give into more of a common sense, like practical approach and say, hey, Tesla, hey, they need to get back to work and let's work with Tesla, right? To get them safely back up and running. This will be the key question. And I think in some ways, some people are outside of California, and people who don't understand Northern California kind of underestimate the risk of this fundamentalism, right? And I think especially if you go up further, right, to Alameda. I mean, personally, I went to college at UC Berkeley, so I understand, like, Alameda County is right up there. Like, yeah, you're talking about some really, like, it's some strong fundamentalism up there. And I think that's a real risk factor right now, is Alameda County just bunkering down into kind of the fundamentalist, complete extreme lockdowns. Personally, I think this is out of line for Alameda. I shared this yesterday, but their hospitalizations, right, are trending kind of slightly down over time. I don't think they have a health crisis at now. It's all just fear of what might happen, right, if there's another flare-up. And I think if that's the case, Alameda County really needs to get their act together and say, hey, let's work with Tesla to get this up and running. Here's the Alameda County daily cases. Again, is slightly trending down. There's no big spike that's happening right now. And again, all of this is just fear from Alameda County officials that, hey, something might happen in the future that spikes things up. Again, it's not justification, in my opinion, to shut down like a global company of tens of thousands of workers, right, that need employment with Tesla. Elon Musk this morning asks for help, and he says, hey, Tesla owners Silicon Valley Twitter account says, hey, what can we do? Elon Musk says, please voice your disagreement as strongly as possible with Alameda County. So Elon is saying the biggest thing, the most help that you can do is to voice your concern with Alameda County. Viv from Twitter says, anything we can do to help, and then says, does reaching out to politicians help in any way? And Elon Musk is saying yes, right? He wants to help put pressure on the Fremont officials. Now, will this change Tesla moving their headquarters out of California? I don't think so. I think it's a done deal. Elon has decided their headquarters is out, but they're still going to probably maintain their Palo Alto office. It's probably going to be similar amounts of people, or a little bit slightly less, but you're going to have a strong presence still of Tesla. It's just that they're going to be moving out their headquarters. Fremont Factory is up in the air, though, how much they really push production and allow for production. Now, just moments ago, right before I started my live stream, the Fremont mayor issues a statement. And in this statement, she says she's concerned about, right, the concern about the lockdowns. And she says that, especially with Tesla, and she wants the city and the county to engage with our local businesses to come up with acceptable guidelines for the economy. And she wants the county to support Tesla. And so I think what's interesting about this whole thing by this mayor here is the mayor actually doesn't have any power in this situation, right? You would think, oh my gosh, Fremont is located in, or Tesla is located in Fremont City. So, and the mayor says, hey, she wants to open up Fremont Factory. But again, the authority falls into the local county, which is Alameda County, a county of about 1.7 million people, and they hold the hand. And so they're going to be meeting. We'll probably find out more updates on probably Monday or Tuesday, in my opinion. And Alameda County, in my opinion, will come up with some statements regarding Tesla. All right, here's some questions. How about Tesla stores and service centers? And Elon didn't mention anything. I think they will remain in California. There's no reason, right, to close service centers or stores. So Tesla's service centers and stores will remain open. Superchargers will remain open in California. How about Tesla's design studio in Hawthorne? I think it probably remains in Hawthorne as long as SpaceX remains in Hawthorne. Now, I think there's a possibility that SpaceX actually moves to Texas too, and I'll talk about that in a second. All right, why would SpaceX move? And there's a few reasons. First, I talked about Austin, Texas as being kind of like this maybe ideal place for Tesla's headquarters. And it could be an ideal place for SpaceX's headquarters as well. They've got a great kind of tech hub, a lot of engineers, and it's kind of like the Silicon Valley of Texas. You're close to two major metro areas, San Antonio and Houston, with like just millions and millions of possible employees and workforce. And then you also are 5 hours away from Brownsville, which is right by the SpaceX launch site in Texas. Now we know that, it'd be great for Elon probably to be close to SpaceX's launch site. And another thing about why SpaceX might move to Texas is SpaceX is really like having, in my opinion, Hawthorne is not ideal for SpaceX. It's just so cramped. I've been there many times, and every time I go, it's just a mess, right? It was good in the beginning days, right? And like when SpaceX was ramping up and hiring, and SpaceX needed to be in Hawthorne because all the best aeronautical like space engineers were all in all in Southern California, and so Elon needed to be there. But now SpaceX has matured. SpaceX can attract the best talent without having to be in Southern California. So SpaceX can move to Texas, and they don't have a problem with recruiting or talent. And that's why I think SpaceX moving actually makes sense actually at this time. I think, some people are going to say, oh my gosh, Elon is out of his mind, he's rash, but I don't think this is a rash move. I think it's actually long thought out. I think the Gigafactory plans for Texas have been long thought out and are in deep kind of finalizing stages. And while there's short-term costs to moving, I think there are long-term advantages, meaning Elon is saying that there's a lot of advantages to moving their headquarters, but also factory production. He knows the best thing to do is to keep production, but if Fremont and Alameda County, right, are stringent and won't compromise, he thinks that maybe the best thing is to move out. Now, with Elon and his personality, he wants to move. He likes to move big. He likes to move fast. Sometimes he's wrong, and most of the time he's right. But he tries to bet big on the surest long-term trends, right? One of his tweets was, "Hey, I'm selling everything I have, right? All my physical possessions, or most of them, right?" I kind of think maybe it was like in anticipation of him moving to Texas. Perhaps, right? Maybe he thinks over the next 1 or 2 years, right, SpaceX will move, Tesla will move headquarters, he'll move to Austin. Maybe he doesn't want like 5 houses, right, in Bel Air. Just my personal speculation. We'll find out probably within a year. All right, we're going to take some questions and comments from viewers, and I'm going to go to my Twitter account and go ahead and pull up some questions here. Now, if you want to ask a question, sorry, I wasn't able to read through all of the comments in the live chat to this period because I'm having to like focus on this, just talking. So if you have a question, write question in all caps, colon, and write your question, and then I'll go ahead and I'll try to read through the questions starting now and answer as many as I can. All right. On Twitter, I posted kind of like some questions and asked people to, respond for this video. And here Bin says, what's the effect of other businesses in California that's working with Tesla? Yeah, so Tesla has a lot of suppliers. Like even in Fremont, there's a lot of suppliers that are all around the whole Tesla, factory. It's a huge, just like, kind of office park of a lot of suppliers, and so all the suppliers will likely either if Fremont Factory just goes on as is and it's nothing, but if Fremont Factory reduces by 50% or shuts down, then you're looking at lots of these companies having to move. Can Tesla build full cars in Giga, Nevada? Yeah, I don't see why they can't build full cars. In some ways, it could be advantageous. They're right next to the battery, right, production, so it's all together. And California, all along, it was kind of like California's high cost, high regulation. It would make more sense to move to somewhere cheaper, but there's an advantage of having your engineers like Palo Alto so close to Fremont. They can troubleshoot, they can really understand the manufacturing process. So it made sense for Tesla to have Palo Alto and Fremont right next to each other, right? The engineers and the manufacturing close together. Now that Tesla's matured, and if they can establish kind of like a stronger office in Nevada, right next to their Gigafactory, inside their Gigafactory, they could still maybe take advantage of the engineers, right, and the factory. And more importantly, if they can actually set up something in Austin and actually have thousands of engineers there, but still keep their Fremont, satellite office, then they can probably take advantage of both. All right, what is the cost going to be for Tesla to do all these relocation of their factory and headquarters? Now, again, there's two things. The headquarters, I think, is pretty much done. Officially, they'll do it probably pretty quickly over the next few months. Now, practically, moving their headquarters or setting up people, thousands of people, this is going to take time, right? You're looking at probably a year or two for thousands of people to really populate offices, right, in Nevada or Texas. again, their factory is all up in the air, and this is something that is breaking, right? Meaning, on later on today, I might have to do a new live stream, or tomorrow I might need to do a new live stream. Next week, it's going to be changing, right? The whole situation. My guess, my hunch, is that Alameda County will compromise somewhat, will allow Fremont to get back up and running on a limited basis, and hopefully they'll be able to work with Elon. That's the best case and most likely. All right, let's go to some questions here. Actually, we have a couple more tweets that I highlighted. Someone asked me, hey, Elon Musk has tried to do everything to reopen the Fremont factory ASAP. He even says how the factory's closed is a high risk, and later tweeting how Tesla was too high, now trying to file a lawsuit against the county. Do you feel as if Tesla is in trouble short term? Yeah, so there was another person, actually here's another comment, Jesus Plaza says, hey, is this affecting the stock in the next few days? And yeah, I think that's a legitimate good question here, is what's going to happen with Tesla, let's say stock, their market cap, right, the valuation of Tesla going, short term. And I think whenever you have uncertainty kind of like that's hanging around any company, and you can't project, let's say, numbers clearly going forward, that adds a lot of kind of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right, to a stock, and that's not going to positively influence the stock typically. So personally, yeah, I think this news, unless something changes, right, and we could see something change very quickly, that Tesla and Alameda County has worked out a deal, I think that's to the best interest of both parties. But if that doesn't happen, yeah, we could see the stock get hit. I told my wife, yeah, I could see the stock get hit like 10% on Monday. Who knows, right? This is just a guess. Like, anyone who says they know exactly, like, hey, Tesla's going to go down or up this amount, right? That's pretty shady, because no one really knows, because on Monday it's lots of things are going to happen when people get in. Samantha the Cass says, do you use leverage in general? What brokerage firm would you recommend if we want to use leverage? Leverage, be careful. I've used leverage, actually. There's two ways to use leverage. One is to go in with like call options, right? Meaning, or you could do puts or whatever, but you're basically doing contracts, right, to purchase or sell something in the future. The second way to use leverage is to go into margin, right, which is you borrow money, right, that you have to pay back later. And with margin, it's very, very risky and dangerous, in my opinion, because this is stuff that you have to pay back no matter what. Your stocks can go to zero, but you have to pay back your margin, right? And this is like scary stuff. It's not stuff to play around with. You really have to know what you're doing. In my opinion, for me personally, I'll only use margin if I have like ample resources outside of my portfolio that can cover that margin. Right? Meaning, if my portfolio goes to zero, my stock portfolio goes to zero, I still can cover my margin fairly easily with other type of assets, right? That's probably the only case I'll use margin. And I haven't used margin probably in like 3 or 4 years. I don't need to, I don't want to. I've only used it at a certain time early on where I needed to acquire more Tesla shares by converting my options, right? There was a time where I kind of accumulated heavy and I needed to exercise options, and that's when I used the margin. But I was able to cover the margin very easily with other assets if my portfolio went to zero. All right, so there's a question by Trent. How will this news impact Tesla short-term and long-term? I talked about short-term a bit. Long-term, now there's different things, like there's so many questions like how long will this take, right, to move production if, right, Alameda County is like really strict. What's the rollout? Is this going to affect Tesla's production numbers? Like, is it going to go lower? Like you would imagine it can't go higher, right? So it's like either going to be a neutral effect or a negative effect, right? So this isn't really good news in my opinion. Oh, Tesla's moving out of California. People will be like, yay, or Fremont Factory shutting down. Like get rid of or get out of California. It's not really good news to celebrate, I think, on Tesla's part. It's going to incur some costs, right? And there's going to be challenges ahead. And it's much more preferable to do it on a planned kind of gradual basis. Set up your factories outside first, move production. So we'll see, like, in the coming days what Alameda County does. Stuart Abel says, will the SEC say anything about this? Yeah, the SEC won't say anything about it because SEC is more concerned with like trading behaviors and like stock manipulation and stuff like that. So they're not really into like business affairs like this. V Patel says, do you think moving production will allow Tesla to incorporate more efficient processes that will allow Tesla to increase the car production in Reno compared to Fremont? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, every new factory that Tesla sets up, they're going to set up so much more efficiently, right? They've learned so much over the years, especially with like, the mess ups at Fremont, with now Shanghai rolling out Berlin. So the next gigafactory, next production factory is going to be so much more efficient. So they can actually do a lot more. I think I've actually talked to Jerome at the Autonomy Day briefly, and he was saying like they've learned a lot and they've learned to do it very like more simply, right? The production line, especially the general assembly line, and then you can add on automation later as it goes on. So I think their whole model is just kind of a more simple, straight production line. It doesn't have to be fancy, right? A tent is fine, and you can add on automation over time. So that's what probably they'll do if they have to move production out of Fremont very quickly. All right, Alex Lee says, Tesla is currently not allowed to sell cars in Texas. What will happen? Yeah, so that's the thing, Tesla, like Texas has this law where they don't allow Tesla to sell directly to consumers in Texas. But if you want to buy a car in Texas, what I know is you have to buy it online. So you place an order online, and officially the transaction happens as a sale in California, right? Everything gets finished there, and then Tesla will ship the car as usual, right? If you bought the car elsewhere, you will ship the car to Texas Tesla delivery or service center. At the service center, you pick it up, right? Sign everything and pick up the car. So it's not a complete like deal breaker where people still are able to buy a car in Tesla in Texas. It's just that Tesla can't really sell it in Texas, right? They have to go around and people have to order online from California, etc. It is a bummer because, yeah, Texas should change their laws. It's like, what the heck? And why is like Elon saying they're going to move their headquarters to Texas or Nevada at least, when Texas still hasn't changed their laws? They won't even let them sell their cars. So it's like Elon is caught in a hard place, right? Rock in a hard place. Alameda won't even let them open their factory, and Texas won't even let them sell cars, right? And these are the two places, right, that he has a choice from. And I think he's betting that at least Texas will be more pliable, will be more flexible, and will probably change their laws. Lauren says, did you see the Joe Rogan podcast? Yeah, Joe Rogan podcast was 2 hours. I wasn't very impressed, actually. I shared some of my thoughts in yesterday's video. Cracker Crumb says the weekends will fold on Monday. Zero Mod says, do you support Tesla building a tire factory in Texas? Yeah, wherever Tesla wants to build it, they know best, right? They know where to build their next factory. Dankus Ranch says, do you think a move like this for the short term can possibly hurt Tesla in the long term? Will top engineers want to leave California for Texas? What if Fremont opens in June? Yeah, so I think earlier on it could have hurt Tesla more because engineers like, hey, I'm sticking around in Silicon Valley. But I think because Tesla has its size, they can afford to keep a satellite office in Palo Alto with hundreds of engineers, people who don't want to leave. That's fine. It could be they could keep their autonomy team there, right, and a bunch of other people. That's fine, right? Not everyone needs to move to Texas or their headquarters, and so I think the best engineers will stay with Tesla. Sandeep says, can California state or county or employee union take any legal action against Tesla moving out? Employees can't move mostly. Yeah, I don't think they can do that. Tesla is a business, they can move out if they choose to. Here's Roger. What do you think of threatening a lawsuit will have on Alameda County giving into Tesla? I don't think it necessarily threatens to I don't think it's really threatening per se. It's just reality, right? I mean, Tesla's getting billions and billions of dollars of injury and harm from, I think, excessive, right, legal orders by the county, and Tesla feels that way. They're doing what they can do. They've been as reasonable as possible, and I think Elon's just telling it as it is, right? Their headquarters, maybe they were in limbo and they're wanting to move now, and their Fremont factory, he's open to doing whatever it takes, right? To have Tesla survive and have Tesla meet and, go after their mission. And whether, that's keeping Fremont open if Alameda will allow it, or closing it down and moving on, Elon will do whatever it takes, right? And so Elon is saying, I think he's just being clear with Alameda, saying this is what's going on. You guys need to work with us or we're out of here. Here's Dennis Hoagland says, is there possibly a foul play in Alameda's board? Seems unlikely that they lack this much common sense. Yeah, no, if you, it's not, I don't think it's like foul play per se. Like Alameda County is very deep into a lot of these, a lot of this ideology that's going on, and the extended lockdowns. Here's Philip Lin, says, note, as an engineer in Silicon Valley, they will not move from Silicon Valley. Yeah, and I said, yeah, Tesla will probably keep their satellite office. I don't think Tesla's going to force any engineers to move. Engineers are like the lifeline of tech companies, especially with software, right? And so you want to go where the best engineers are, right? That's the key to a lot of these tech companies. All right, here's Eugene. He says, what happens to Fremont employees if Tesla leaves California? Now, this is a bad scenario for everyone, I think, in my opinion. And if Tesla closes down Fremont, then yeah, I mean, Tesla will probably give the opportunity for Fremont employees to move, right, to Texas or Reno to carry on their job. And if the Fremont workers can't move, then they could try to apply for a different position, right, in Tesla, a service center or sales or something, doing something else. They can't find that, then, they need to find a job elsewhere, in my opinion. That's what happens in this case. It's not ideal, and I think Elon wants to save Fremont. He wants it to open. He just needs the cooperation of Alameda County. All right, guys. This is breaking news, and I want to make a kind of a note that a lot of my thoughts are just real time right now. Meaning, this is stuff that's just breaking, it's just happening right now. And the main point of why I'm sharing this is to help us process kind of the whole situation from different angles, rather than getting swayed away by this, gloom and doom, or this like hype and I don't know, whatever. I want to help others to go ahead and to react in a more kind of thoughtful way, right? Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, without the thumbs up, it's hard, for the video to spread. And after the video, go ahead, write a comment, says, and let people know, let me know what you think about Tesla moving out of California, their headquarters. What are the chances of them shutting down their Fremont factory altogether? What are the implications on Tesla's, future, on its stock price, etc.? Chime in the comments. That also helps, the whole YouTube algorithm and everything. All right, we'll see you guys in my next video. Take care and good luck. Bye.